friends. We've made it to France a couple of times. Oh, that's so cool. Really cool. Yeah. It's badass.
Hey, hello. Oh my God.
All right,
it's me. It's me. I hear myself. Is that just me? Is the voices in my head? Hello. Jesus, there's people. Hey, what's going on? What's up? This is like all the gigs in my head where you can hear me and not him. So, do you see how I did that? I think you have to turn it on. You see how I took the one you didn't have to turn on?
You mean with the green light
I've done
there?
that shit before.
That thing?
Give him the complicated one. Hello! Hi!
How you doing? It is an on button and an off button. That makes it complicated.
We're going to have to stop meeting like this.
I know.
You and I. Okay, hey, welcome. Welcome to Solis Forever. Thank you for being here. There's a lot to say, there's a lot to do. I'm going to try to make it through at least the introduction of the show without bawling my eyes out. And let's see, what can I tell you? The most important thing, there's beer. There's beer in the other room. There's beer, there are baked goods, there's coffee, there's, treats of many kinds. And we want this to be, this is our house, this is casual. You know how Danny would want it, all right? You do what you need to do. Everybody's going to deal with this in their own way. Drink things, eat things, move around the cabin. This is, we are not going to be polite, or there's no need to stand on any sort of, politeness. So do your thing.
Hug people if you need to.
Hug people. There's beer. There's Lone Star. I like Lone Star. Lone Star is my beer of choice. They have it in there. I'm just putting that out there. I brought my clipboard.
Trusty clipboard.
Got my clipboard.
Years and years. How many of you remember this from the 90s? From such places as the Electric Lounge?
This is for sure been here since the 90s. Can't remember where my keys are, but I know where my clipboard is.
Always.
Hey, look, we're zooming.
Yes, we are. We are indeed zooming. There's a link in the Facebook invite. So if you know that there are people out there that want to do this, those of you who are in the audience or those of you who are on Zoom, hello to you on Zoom, let more people know. We're going to stream this the whole time. Definitely want to get as many people watching this as possible. Obviously, thanks to all of you for making the journey out here. But for those of us who could not be here, we want to definitely be inclusive too, hence technology. So, all that.
I mentioned that there was beer, so I feel like I've done most of my part of this. Is there anyone that you would like to introduce?
Oh, yeah. Tegan is with us. Dan's son, happily. So, it's been sleeping in my daughter's room this weekend, and we're trying to get as much Mexican food in him as possible before he goes back up to a place with inferior Mexican food. That's what so.
Whatever federal governmental agency is listening on Zoom, that was completely an innocent comment. There was nothing really. While she's not there, he's sleeping in the coma. Geez, funny. He was arrested.
Yeah. All right. For those poets or otherwise poetically inclined, we do have an exquisite corpse in the back.
Raise your hand if you know what that is. An exquisite corpse. You're familiar with the form of writing called an exquisite corpse. Which is what you do is you go back there to that notebook and you look at only the line that is the most recently written.
There should be one line on display. If there's more than one line on display, just have that last line displayed.
Fucking cheating. You're cheating, and I just threw out the first.
And you will ruin it for yourself.
I always try to do. You ruin it for all this, and then you add a line, and the next person comes and adds a line, only seeing. Hey, look what happened there. The line preceding to what you've written, and then we make a poem.
Yeah, and it's been building since Albuquerque. So 2 weeks ago there was a memorial there, and a bunch of people contributed there, and then Rochester last week. So we're just gonna keep it going until a bunch of us gather 2 weeks from this weekend.
Also, that notebook belonged to our friend Shappy, so it's a very special notebook. So write some nerdy shit in there too, if you would. There you go. All right, have we covered everything?
I think we have.
Mostly everything. Okay, here's what's going to happen. Here's what we're going to do. We'll be coming up on stage. We'll be inviting poets to come up and do whatever it is that you want with the stage, with the microphone, as it is always. It is yours. To start the show, we're going to show a video that was made for us by our friends from Chapter. Chapter, some of you heard about it, is an app. It's that creates an amazing online memorial for our friends that we've lost. They took some of the interviews and images and stuff that have been posted so far on the app and made us a really cool video. So we're going to show that. to get us started.
Yeah, and
right?
if you do want to contribute to that, it's chapter without an E. You can download the app, find Danny's page, and then photos, videos, remembrances, anything you want to do. Really to contribute to that, we would love that. I mean, we've been building it so far. Definitely journey down memory lane for a lot of those, and it's been just incredible to just see. So if you want to contribute and help to that would be awesome.
Yeah, just hit follow, and then you'll be able to access all the stuff that's on there. We'll watch the video. We're going to come and strike the screen after that, and then we shall start the show. So thanks for being here.
I hear the drizzle of the rain. It's falling from my window. And in the corners of my mind, I hope that I'll get to see you again. La-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, my friend.
A thread that stretches, I think, from day one of Danny Solis, a core truth to him was the value of all voices. He wanted everyone to have time on the mic. He valued everybody's voice and everybody's story and wanted everyone to have the chance to speak their truth. He was so inclusive. He brought everybody into the fold, and he thought family is only stronger when it is made larger, when you bring more people in.
When Danny got involved with the Slam, I mean, it was still very, very young as a movement. There was this sort of need for people to be ambassadors. It was family and it was love, and it was truly magical working with him. And, especially 96, being part of that team was life-changing for me.
That summer changed everything and made us family. Like, the thing about Danny is how many multitudes this guy contained. Mm-hmm. And he was both like this complete agent of chaos and brought like the most discipline from this group of jerks that I think any of us had ever experienced before in our time together on a Slam team.
He was shaman-like in his wisdom and his sage advice. At the same time, he was a complete clown and cut up.
Once you got past the Klingon warrior poet thing, 5 minutes into talking to him, you're like, I love this guy and he's a fucking goofball.
He would joke about it himself that at the end of his stories, all the babies would stop crying, all the dogs would wag their tails, and all the women would want to sleep with him.
He loved being a dad. He really found himself in that role.
From their first second together, he and Tegan were perfect.
Right now, he's probably trying to, organize an art scene in the hereafter. He sees what he's got among him, and, he's going to do a show. And he'll have notes. We'll have notes for everybody.
I think of him at the mic in that moment before he speaks, when he's really still and he knows what he's about to say is the truth. I see his eyes big and wild, and he's starting to smile, and he knows he's going to make me laugh. Like, he knows it's going to happen. Like, he just can't wait. It's like Christmas morning. He's going to make me laugh, and it's going to be the best thing. I really miss our friend.
I think of Danny right now sort of, looking down over us, probably from some really great diner, restaurant, somewhere up there that no one else knows about, and he has like 4 half-finished drinks in front of him. Like, there's a coffee, horchata, and water, and a soda, and a big plate of enchiladas. And he's looking at us, and he's like, grateful and thankful, and like, yeah, that was good. That was pretty good, guys. God, thank you very much. But I have notes. I got notes. Notes for both of you in 10 minutes. I got notes.
We're going to strike the screen real quick and be right back with Guy Forsyth. It's Guy Forsyth!
Thank you very much.
So,
Danny Solis was a generator of positive experiences for me personally. Every time I got closer to him, good things would happen. He elevated the experience of living, and he does that in lots of different ways. And the thing that probably affected me the most is that he was all about continuing the work and continuing to dig and to recreate that thing that you love in a way that would serve you in doing it and serve others by delivering it. So I'd like to, this is my work right now. So. And I'm happy about it. And it's on the subject of creativity, which is the wheelhouse that we're talking about, because he was a saint of creativity and of the other thing. And those were ways that he showed the shadow as having value and balancing where things needed balancing, and just did it with remarkable grace and love. Thank you. A little wood, a little wire, small Fender amplifier, slight magic made by hand. It was something I could understand. I got nothing from the place I was, school days, just because somebody wants you in an office chair, working while they don't see you there. But I have tasted the sacred wine, I felt the tug when the stars aligned. There is only one God I know, that's the one yelling, go cat go. So get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, let it go. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, let it show. Don't you think it's time to love the thing you can't control? If you don't let it, you'll never know. Little Fisher-Price record player, transistorized and price soothsayer, scratchy vinyl from my parents' time, holy relics of rhythm and rhyme. Never had to listen to talk myself from a book from a library shelf. It had the secrets that I need, and I would play till my fingers bleed on a borrowed guitar from a friend of mine who lost both arms to a power line. Taught me how to tune it with his feet. That kind of love just can't be beat. So get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, let it go. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, let it show. Don't you think it's time to love the things you can't control? If you don't let it, you'll never know. Sing and play. This music, it ain't mine, but it's with me all the time, and I just wanna give it away. So that's what brings me here, tickling your ear. I hope you'll play with me, invest in ecstasy. You decide what you're about. You can sit and wait your sentence out, or you can live life like a song, and we can sing along. And get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, let it go. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, let it show. Don't you think it's time to love the things you can't control? If you don't let it, you'll never get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, let it go. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, let it show. Don't you think it's time to love the things you can't control? If you don't let it, you'll never know. If you don't let it, you'll never know. All about the creativity. All about granting you the license that you think that you need. And possibly turning a profit. picked up along the way. Don't know where he's going, don't know how long he'll stay. Got his own agenda, he's got somewhere to be. Got yourself a rider, now you won't take me. Was dancing in the graveyard, tapping on the stones, in a widow's wedding dress that you bought with stolen bones. You spun away the moment you thought you were alone, but you forgot the blind spot. You took a rider home. Wash yourself in cold salt water, burn those candles down. Shed that skin he's hiding in, shed that skin, scrape it clean, 'cause that rider's gonna ride you round and round, round and round and round and round. That rider's gonna ride you round and round till you put that rider down, till you put that rider down. In the small hours of morning, something whispers in my ear, 1,000 accusations no one wants to hear. A laundry list of reasons to be dissatisfied. You know you've got a rider when you carry this inside. I was hanging in the graveyard with a 10-cup telephone, picking out a requiem for those beneath the stones. I saw I was unguarded, open to the unknown. I failed to heed the warnings and I took a rider home. Wash yourself in cold salt water, burn those candles down. Shed that skin he's hiding in, shed that skin, scrape it clean, 'cause that rider's gonna ride you round and round, round and round and round and round. That rider's gonna ride you round and round till you put that rider down. That rider's gonna ride you round and round, round and round and round and round. That rider's gonna ride you round and round, round and round and round and round. That rider's gonna ride you round and round, round and round and round and round. That rider's gonna ride you round and round till you put that rider down, till you put that rider down. Let's let my buddy Wammo join me on stage at this time. I'm going to unplug this guitar and plug the other one in.
What we do without her.
Find out.
This smooth. I'm moving your case, Quentin. Just so you know. Wasn't giving me enough gut room, man. So. There we go. Speaking of multiple drinks. Any conversation before we go ahead and break this thing?
Yeah, just first off, thanks everybody for coming out. It's weird. I don't think I've felt stage fright since I was in my first grade. I feel something different up here right now. I'll have to figure out what it is. Anyway,
It's the eyes of your peers.
never really bothered me. I was never worried about their eyes. So, this is both stories in this song are true. Well, how's it go? Golden fleece, wandering eye, the bare necessities of lying on my back, blowing smoke at the ceiling. How's it go? How's it go? Golden fleece, drunk with Danny in an alley behind Steamboat on 6th Street, just yelling and screaming till we almost threw down, 'cause I caught him in the bathroom while my girlfriend was peeing. He don't even drink no more, she moved out of town. So how's it go? How's it go? Golden fleece, wandering eye, the bare necessities of lying on my back, blowing smoke at the ceiling. How's it go? How's it go? Golden fleece. Take one, buddy. Go ahead. Drunk on mezcal with Vic Chestnut in a parking lot in Austin. Played a game we called Speed Racer till we crashed out in the grass on the back of his old wheelchair. Neither of us steering, laughing at the habits, but that's all in the past. So how's it go? How's it go? Golden fleece, wandering eye, the bare necessities of lying on my back, blowing smoke at the ceiling. How's it go? How's it go? The golden fleece. So how's it go? How's it go? The golden fleece. The golden fleece. So how's the go? How's it go? The golden fleece. One more time for God Forsyth. Let's bring Wammo. All right, so we're going to bring up a bunch of poets to the mic, one after the other, as we've done it back in the days of yore, the Electric Lounge in the mid-'90s, where a lot of us got to know each other, a time before cell phones, a time where this gentleman here, Mike Henry, and Mark Schumann, who I saw, and I think he's peeing. Mark Schumann, who is peeing right now, but as the dapper man in the black and the hat in the back that you'll see there, basically opened up the lounge as kind of a clubhouse to us. We did a weekly poetry slam trying to impress each other and, more importantly, 5 people in the audience with scorecards, trying to best each other and then eventually win fabulous, not full paid trips by any means, but we raised money to do that, but we got to go and compete against each other, and that's where I met Danny. I'll tell that story a little bit later down the road, but I wanted to get up, first of all, someone who was very much of that era. We were all very, very close friends. It's amazing to have friends that are like family. Definitely a lot of these people were like that. I believe this is the person who coined the phrase, Danny's had the magic beer, which was basically the point in which a night with Danny would get just that much more memorable. So please welcome up to the mic
one of my favorite people from the slam era ever, and one of my favorite people in the world, Genevieve and Cleve. Coming up.
Hi, y'all.
Hey, girl.
Hello, Internet. I will be there always. We did not have the Internet at the Electric Lounge, and that, I think, was wise. I think that was good thinking on our part, not to live in a time where, everything's online. All right. Yeah, Danny. Well, let me make sure I got all the pages. I do. Oh, you know what? I need my readers.
Whoops.
I know. How hot is that? That's what I say before I blow him. I need my readers. You know what you came for.
Start outside, baby. You got all those tattoos down there. You gotta read.
Oh, you think because I'm 52 and are wearing these fabulous shoes that I'm not a dirty, dirty person anymore.
You're like an old sailor now.
That's right, I am.
Rusty old sailor.
All right, this is called I wrote a poem about my first abortion experience in 1995. I got no likes. I got no hashtags. I just screamed at people night after night. Men avoided my gaze. Women cornered me to tell me their stories for years. I got a lot of tens from dark bar audiences, and yet here we are. Roe has fallen. In Texas, your kid's rapist can sue you for $10,000 if you drive her to New Mexico to get an abortion. Look it up. My advice, burn it down to the ground, or leave. And I'm leaving in 6 weeks, so it's on you now. Yeah, I wrote it. 25 years before most young activists were born, 20 years before you were forced to look at a sonogram, 10 years before there were waiting periods and adoption pamphlets. 2 weeks ago, I got a call about slipping mifepristone, to a woman in the Travis County jail who didn't think she'd be out in time to get an abortion. And even if she could make bail, the conditions of her release meant she couldn't leave the state. There's an underground again because there has to be. Burn it the fuck down. My friend Danny knew all about it. And it's actually why I'm here. Danny pushed his rage through the grinder, adding sage and thyme before closing the casing. The last time we talked on the phone, he sounded like fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi, for Christ's sake. When did Danny become the voice of reason? I said I would call him back in a week, and I didn't. Time flies. The days and weeks last forever, but the years do not. And we're not driving space cars, and we're not wearing space tunics. We're getting laid off. We reinvent. Everyone we know someday will die. And that seems like every fucking day, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the squirrels in the backyard have won the battle of the birdseed. They're just gonna fucking eat it. There are 60,000 bees in the space between the wall and the house. There's nothing you can do about it. It's the final countdown by fucking Journey. It's the final countdown from fucking Journey. Total control racing. A sad cul-de-sac where couples get divorced. The planet, along with my blood, boils. So I went to the bra store. And that's what middle-aged people do. We run errands. And somewhere between the baby showers and the funerals, we're going to make a quick stop to get the oil change. I got to buy a dimmer switch. Got to buy a dimmer switch for that light in the dining room. It'll only take a minute. I went to the bra store, and I've been meaning to go. I didn't go to Victoria's Secret. Her secret is the dude that founded the company was a fucking creep. Like Donald Trump. They just let you do it when you're famous for like 1,000,000 years. They just let you do it. Fortunately or unfortunately, if you're a woman. He said that 2 weeks ago. You see, I need support. I need structure. I need my foundation garments to work. I am a Capricorn. And there's only one place it'll do. Petticoat Fair. Woo! Petticoat Fair is an Austin institution. You can't just walk in. They buzz you in. You can't just try on bras. They bring you bras. You can't just leave. You sit on the blue couch until it is time for you to go. They buzz you out. You can't always get what you want. But if you try on 5, you might get what you need. Petticoat Fair is so old. How old is it? They got a silent E at the end of fair. The lingerie on the shop floor looks like a rerun of Dynasty or Falcon Crest or Knots Landing. Diaphanous, shiny, nylon, puffy sleeves. The kind of gowns you can do this in. Richard, no! And so then Barb or Linda or Sharon asks, have you shopped with us before? You bet I have. My first wedding. My second wedding. At least one high school reunion. My father's funeral. That time I thought I was having a kid. And that time I knew I definitely wasn't. Petticoat Fair is not about sex. It's how you strap yourself in for the big event with crotchless panties for any body size, if you so desire. They'll last forever if you don't put them in the dryer. You haven't lived till you've heard an old woman with a tape measure try and sell you sturdy, crotchless panties the eve of what is about to be the first of 2 weddings. Crotchless! Barb or Linda or Sharon measured my boobs and a bunch of arm fat, which according to science is also boob. I got boob all over me. Like Nutella smeared on a toddler. 2 beige bras. That's what they brought me. Do you have white? No, we do not. This seems kind of tight. I mean, it's kind of really uncomfortable. Stand up straight and it won't hurt so much. Posture is key. Do you have black? We can order it. It will take 6 weeks. As directed, I bend over and tuck my arm boob in the device of my foundation garment. I walk out and stand erect at the transaction counter, lifted and separated the way God or someone really important intended, pointing boldly yet smoothly forward where no one has gone before. Just like Danny. He is held securely by infinity. He is everywhere we look, so close he leaves a mark on your rib cage with a silent E. Wow. Thank you.
Genevieve fucking Van Cleve right there, ladies and gentlemen. Many times, friends, in my career, if you can call it that, if you can use that word, I've stood on a stage and tried to decide this in a very impossible question: which poet has to follow Genevieve Van Cleve? It's a difficult question, right? And in this show, the fun thing, none of the poets know the order. They have no idea what's happening. That's the way I like it, right? And so they will kind of have to, you can determine by the introduction as it's starting, is this me? Is this someone else? All right. How did Danny get here? How did Danny get to us? So one of the, of course, Danny lived here back in the day. Wammo knows all those stories. He remembers some of them, and he will tell them a bunch of times. So Danny, though, it is notable, of all the artists I've ever met, he walked the walk, right? He moved from place to place in order to practice his craft. Started in Boston, went to Asheville, was here, went to Albuquerque. Something in common, all those places took teams to the National Poetry Slam Finals, won it twice. I wonder what the fuck was the common factor. Everybody's like, oh, I suppose, well, it's just luck, and we don't like to talk about these things. It was because of Danny, right? Danny helped curate these spaces, these teams, these communities, and we were lucky enough to have him here with us. A poet in our audience tonight comes from one of those communities. He was also another, we're always happy when we get move-ins. We got Matthew John Conley this way. He's probably, maybe he's on the internet. I don't know. Is there a rabbit? Is there a rabbit somewhere? Okay. But I say, hi, Matthew. Okay. All right. Another poet we were very, very, very happy to inherit, who came to us by way of Boston. Please welcome Tommy Mendez to the stage.
Yeah, I knew of Danny for several years before I ever met him. When I was up in Boston, all the time I'd do something cultural and people would be like, do you know Danny Solis? No, goddamn it, I don't. But I finally got to meet him in Chicago at one of the Slam Masters meetings. And it was my first time there. We had a big show that night, and everybody from around the country was there, and I was scared to death to be on that stage. I got up there and I started doing my thing, and I heard bongo drums behind me. And I glanced, and there was Danny and Reggie Gibson behind me playing bongo drums. It was a magic moment that I will carry with me forever, and I owe that all to him. Without him, I wouldn't have that. Thank you. First, the boxes of frozen dough are thrown to the concrete floor to loosen them up. Then they are poured onto parchment-lined sheet pans, loaded onto a rack and roll, and wheeled next to the ovens to thaw. Mixed by a machine out onto a conveyor belt in San Antonio 4 months ago. They will be loaded onto another conveyor belt into another machine to finish cooking here in Austin. Finally, actual human hands. Either by marketing or economical design, young Latina hands will put them into packages of 10 or 20, never 12 for some reason, and stack them into warming cases for middle-class housewives to purchase. Flour, whole wheat, or spicy jalapeno. There is even a butter tortilla-flavored candle over in the home decor section of this giant grocery store. These are my grandmother's hands. Small, wrinkled with age, scarred from hard work. These are hands that birthed children, hands that dug their way out. These are hands that measured ingredients more with familiarity than portion control into a heavy ceramic bowl once owned by her mother and her mother. How much flour do you use, the young ones ask. This much, she says with a smile. a rodeo, a camal, her hands like flashes of brown lightning, never fearing the heat. Huevos, papas, chorizo, frijoles, sold out the back door to men on their way to a day of back-breaking work. Stuffed into the bellies of children on their way to a better education. Stacked in linen, an offering to the rest of the day. These are my grandmother's tortillas, a staple of life. Humilde y grandiosa. Poetry passed down from one generation to another.
Thank you, Tommy. And in the grand way that this is all working out, Tommy mentioned San Antonio. Very funny that you should do this, because next person I'm going to bring up is somebody that I met when I was in San Antonio. There is a saying that I'm just making up right now, where old slam poets don't retire, they just go on to coach other slam poets. This was a poet who was part of the 2005 team. That was the National Poetry Slam in Albuquerque, which was an absolutely amazing experience. If anybody remembers Hotel Blue and Naked Poet Races, phrases that are for those of you who were there, you know the lore, you know how awesome that was. Anyway, yeah. So this was she was part of the San Antonio team, and a lot of just kind of what I brought to help out in terms of strategy and terms of helping people to get just as good as they could possibly get. Came from Danny, came from his tutelage, came from his wisdom, came from his spirit. So this poet went on to be San Antonio Poet Laureate and did a lot of really excellent things and is still doing excellent things. Please welcome Vocab. Thanks.
I happen to access a lot of memories to get through moments like this. So kudos to you for for putting all that together. And it's like you're fighting emotions and accessing memories at the same time. And that is never easy. My condolences to all who grieve. And this is still an amazing celebration of a very beautiful, powerful, strong man. And what I love about Danny Solis, and hopefully no one gets offended by me saying this, is he was really good at pissing people off. And I admired it and also was very amused by it, especially when we came into this new age of everything was on the internet. And my thing was like, I came into the slam scene in 2005, the year of the huge protests, the X's in the air, and we didn't give a damn. Like, Texas was just on some, we was on some, we were on it, and it was awesome to see, like, all unfold. I was like, yes, I'm from Texas, and we are starting all the drama up here in Albuquerque. Okay, I wasn't even a part of it, but I was a part of it, So it's a pleasure to see and hear you all, especially you, Genevieve. God, I love you, woman. This poem is called A Mi Padre. I wrote it for a man who wanted to pay tribute to his father, and dads are really good at pissing us off. So thanks, Danny. It's like they're good. But sometimes them pissing us off, it makes us better, And what I love about Danny is he challenged people to be better all the time. He challenged you to be your best self, and fathers have to do that sometimes. They got, And this is just a good way to talk about someone who's a father figure to so many people in this slam scene. So thank you, Danny, for all of your fathering. The ocean glitters golden in memory. The shore is saturated with good times. The convergence of bodies of water meeting for the first time. Salt over skin speaks to me sentimentally. White sand between toes, sea breeze upon my nose, the ebb and flow of cool liquid. The pounding, rolling, rushing and courageous as a man, migrating to a new beginning. Rinsing me in understanding and tugging me to undertow. I embrace the tide, strong as my father's arms surmounting to a crest. Waves of love surround me with froth and foam, lifting me as I surf, sending me out to sea. Sunlight lines honey-colored dunes. Wind choreographs the movement of colorful kites and parasols above the beach, where exalted ribbons float through the azure skyline. They glide among the albatross. We are all islands unto ourselves, with tiny hills that peak by the sea. Palm trees stipple the landscape, and my heart feels free from a father's love that marks my emancipation. Together we have built castillos de arena, yet we are immovable. Sandcastles, never erased, never eroding, never washed away. Never erased, never eroding, never washed away. They stay grounded at sea level. Fortress of grains, warm, dry by the sun, shells embedded in the topography. We lounge like beach bums, our sandy legs stretched out as wide as the firmament of the Pacific or the Gulf Coast. We gaze into the waters to see where the sky lands upon the ocean, and endless kiss of ombres, sky blue to marine blue, a hue so deep our hearts sink into the sight. And Danny, our eyes, our hearts will sink into the memories of you.
Vocab. Yes, it's Texas Poetry Slam family that has evolved over these years. You know, Danny was born in Dallas, Texas, born and raised, and that was back when we started. It was just us in Dallas that got this thing going, and many trips back and forth up and down that 3 hours, stopping at Check Stop halfway to the Dallas Slam and Dallas Clean Austin Slam. Spicy Hot Chubby. Spicy Hot Chubby was indeed our battle cry for the 1996 Austin Poetry Slam team. Spicy Hot Chubby is, raise your hand if you know what a spicy, some of you do. The rest of you are thinking that I'm that this is some perverted thing. It's a kolache. I mean, it's a kolache that you get at Check Stop halfway between here and Dallas. Dallas Slam team has always been family. There's going to be an event like this that Danny's family in Dallas is doing in the middle of next month, and I hope that you will join us. I have a feeling I know we'll stop halfway there. I get to introduce a poet from Dallas who has the coolest fucking vest in the whole world. Please give it up for someone who helped us very much also when we did our National Poetry Slam here. It's Bob Whoopeecat, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, well, my first memory of Danny Solis, I believe, was the Slam America tour when it stopped in Dallas. And he came up to me and he goes, I don't know who the fuck you are, but I know I want to know you. And I said, okay. And we didn't cross paths again for probably another 3 years. But when we did, it was epic. And I believe it was Southwest Shootout in Albuquerque. And Danny and a couple of the poets in Albuquerque arranged for all of these teams that were in the city. About 5 teams stayed in one house. So there was teams from California. They came all the way in, San Jose, the Bay Area, Dallas. There was an Oklahoma City team there. I believe Austin was there as well. And out back, Danny and I ended up around a fire pit under the stars. And that was one of his favorite places to be, was under the stars. And all of a sudden, we went from not knowing each other to knowing a lot about each other. And he knew that I was a chef, and he says, hey, man, so do you make mole? I said, yeah. He says, do you make pico de gallo? I said, does a one-legged duck swim in oblong circles and sideways after a shot of tequila? He goes, yeah. I said, okay. So we started talking. We had a couple of beers. Fire pit was raging. And then, after that long trip and performing that night, I got pretty tired. I went to bed early. And I was one of the first people to get up the next day. And Eric Bodwell from Albuquerque was there. And he and I had this crazy-ass idea, you know what? There's no fucking food in this house. So we went to a grocery store and we got boxes of coffee. We got tortillas. We got mangoes. We got jalapenos and everything to make a mango relish. Eggs, bacon, vegetarian bacon, because there's so many freaking poets that are vegetarians. And as you're in the house, there's this chorus of snores, and the leading snorer is Danny Solis. And it was the loudest of all, and everybody was kind of snoring in chorus with him. And so you could hear all of these snores coming from the different rooms and all of these different teams, and Eric and I are throwing together breakfast, and all of a sudden the snores start to dissipate, one by one. But Danny was still there all by himself, snoring solo. And finally, we opened up the door to where he was at, and we started wafting in all of these food aromas to try and wake him up. And he finally just does this, and we handed him a cup of coffee. And he goes, "Oh, you fucking just made my world." And he got up, and we had a feast for poets that was pretty awesome, that broke out with games of backgammon, spades like I have never seen before, with people slapping tables with cards and yelling all kinds of obscenities at each other, trying to say, hey, I did better than you, but, it was a lot more graphic than that. But as we grew this relationship, and Mike was part of this, we formed, and Danny was jealous of this, we formed the Texas Six. That's right. With all of Texas rolls hard when it comes to competitions. We rolled hard, and we rolled as a group. And we go into a city, we had our colored shirts, just like Chris has on. And different color every year. I think black the first year, blue the next year, red the next. I mean, we changed, and we stayed the Texas Six. But Danny was part of the starting of that, even though he wasn't with us in Texas anymore. He helped bring that together. So I have something I want to share with you guys that I put together in the last couple of days that kind of puts together my relationship with him and the things that I viewed. There is an empty seat at the table. Warm spotlights search the creaky stage of shadows. Static hum speakers ache for feedback. Oh, silent Mike, who will fill the void as Solomon sings songs and praise for the Godfather? Splinter crack lightning splits the sky beneath dancing stars. Tribal drum thunder rattles heaven's door in the voice of gathering storm poets. This clash of old titans and new voices. Revolution is more important than your Shakespearean sonnet. Revolution is more important than your leaves of grass. Revolution is more important than your road less traveled. Yes, revolution is more important than my machismo. Revolution is Walden's Pond. Revolution is Howl. And as the Almighty questions his own decision to early capture this thunderbird from his turbulence, he lays palms in affirmation on shoulders, his newest devil's advocate introduced in rebel spirit. They grasp, accepting hands in a scene Michelangelo only wishes to paint. And the thunderbird greets his maker. Hola, Espiritu Santos. Welcome to this revolution, cabron.
Is a nice house.
Right?
Texas Six, microphone, snake. I love that. All right, yeah. That was those were incredible times. Again, a time before cell phones, where you would go 4 hours. Oh, I'm going to read one, maybe two, maybe three poems. Road trip, sure. I'm in. Count me in. All right. So we're going to keep this. We're going to keep this in the Texas family a little bit too. Met him. I imagine it was an Austin reading. I feel like I have known him forever and ever. He did the very, very unlikely but very noble and very awesome thing of bringing a slam to Corpus Christi, Texas. So we're gonna hear from him now. He is a professor, a gentleman, a scholar, wonderful person. Proud to call him a friend. Stefan, come on up here.
I say balaba. 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 Humba. Balaba. Humba. Okay, I met Danny probably 2001 or 2002. That's when I started Balaba Humba in Corpus, and the first team which came to Corpus was Austin Slam Team or San Antonio Slam Team, I don't remember, one of them. And Matthew probably is seeing us here via internet. Hello, Matthew. Matthew hooked up even more than the rest of the folks from Austin with us, and he said, you got to bring Danny Solis to Corpus Christi. I was like, come on, dude. He'll never come to Corpus Christi. He's like, you may be surprised. Contact him. So I contacted him, and he said, yeah, of course I want to come. And he came, did the workshop, did a feature on campus, and did a feature for Balaba Humba, and just like really, put us on the right track. So that's how we met. One thing somebody said that he had a knack at pissing people off. Yeah. He also had a knack at being pissed off. And really for completely stupid shit, folks. Unimaginably stupid. For example, one day Dallas Cowboys were playing Kansas City Chiefs. It was a playoff implication game, or maybe playoff game, and Dallas lost, and I quipped on the Facebook.
Oh no.
It was like a really big mistake. I said, God punish Cowboys for Texan voting red. I was so stupid because Kansas City is red territory too, so got massacred and confused, both ways. He fucking lashed at me like if I was a poet at the third rehearsal. I haven't yet memorized my lines. Really, level me to the ground. And I revisited it a year or 2 years later. I said, Danny, you shouldn't be so hard on people when they say funny thing. And he said, only if they are funny in the first place, motherfucker. So that's Danny. On another occasion, I invited him for the festival in Corpus, People's Poetry Festival, grassroots things. We started after I retired from Slam, and then in part that's why I retired from Slam. There are other things in Corpus. I invited him twice. One he read for a panel on the matters of spirit, and then on a different panel I was working on my haiku and other haiku and shit like this. And in particular, my girlfriend bought me a beautiful book by Richard Wright. I'm going to show you the book. This is the book. It says here, Richard Wright. And what does it smell like? Richard's Wright's haiku are all 575. If you know me, you know I don't write 575 haiku, but they have imagery on the other hand. They're not aphorisms. And I critiqued, I said great haiku, great poems, but he capitalized every line and puts a period at the end. And I was like, fuck, haiku have no periods because they run. There are moments in time, and they have no capitalizations. I said, a great haiku, but why does he put a period at the end? And Danny said this, quote, lay off, James Wright. Before you totally absorb his work and yada, yada, yada. I was like, dude, we're talking about Richard Wright. Why you bring Eugene Wright in your criticism? So that's done, I pissed him off again. So, those are memories. Those are my bad memories with Danny. I had lots of good memories. I prepared two sort of sets. One is a long poem about that. And lots of people said, no, fuck this shit. Tell some stories about Danny and read some short pieces.
Good advice.
short pieces, folks. I wanted to show you one other poem. Sorry, one other photo. You know this photo. Everybody knows this photo. So, all the pieces I'm going to read are April pieces, so it's like 30-30 shit. I was writing, and I commit myself to post whatever comes up, and it's decent. So the first piece is for Danny and for Hilary. Thomas, where are you, Hilary? Okay, it's for you, Hilary, too. And by the way, thank you so much, Mikey and Phil and Wammo, for inviting me here. Because like one of the things which is really important for us is that we keep in touch with each other, and we frequently forget to do it. Sometimes because we have a falling out. Didn't really happen between me and Danny, but it may happen. Somebody from Boston told me, I wish I patched up shit with Danny, you know? And they had a chance and didn't do it, and now it's too late. So I'm very glad I'm here and I'm seeing you folks. Hilary, I haven't seen you for 10 years. I haven't seen your husband for 10 years. He doesn't even fucking remember he's met me once. Motherfucker. Never replies to anything I say on Facebook. So here it is, for Danny and for Hilary. Words weaver. Dragons spring off the tips of his fingers. He says, poets love stars. Danny loved the dogs. This is a found poem. The first part is like totally found poem. The second part is my reaction. A brilliant mind, always ready to jump into deep, meaningful conversation about life, science, and art, only to stop in mid-sentence, point straight, and say, hey, look at that doggo. I'm looking at two. We used to have three. Each of them a rescue. Each, all of them, having the nature of Buddha. Cuddling with them together on the sofa, each embrace is a day of infinite bliss. The Buddha did it, but we didn't get it. Lao Tse did it, and we didn't get it. Jesus Christ did it, and we didn't get it. And then a Zen monk asked the great master Joshu if the dog has the Buddha nature or not. And Joshu replied, "Moo." Do you get it?
Give it up for Stefan.
Clap for the fucking poet. You know, normally people like do the snapping thing for poets. I want to fucking fight them because it's like this old hippie bullshit that I can't stand. Somehow, when Stefan reads, it's totally cool. Like, it is oddly appropriate. It's the living, waking dream, the hallucination we're all sharing together that has come to us from Corpus Christi. Clap for the poet. And now I have to figure out who the fuck is going to follow Stefan. Equally impossible. So I'm going to do it. I have a story. I'm going to tell you one of my favorite Danny stories. But first, I'll tell you who's on deck in case I forget everything at the end of it. So another poet that we're so glad is here today, and who spent time with Danny in Albuquerque during that epic run in Albuquerque where he helped craft an incredible poetry scene that we're all grateful for. this poet was on the team with him, was city champion, visited us in Austin many times, is now living in Houston, and we just heard is moving to Austin. So we're going to get to see more of her. So Tamara Nicole Smith, you're up next. You're on deck, in case I forget. So, all right. So this is one of my favorite stories about Danny. This is also kind of coincidentally one of my favorite stories about a dear friend of Danny's, our friend Shappy. And I think Danny would think it's appropriate. So Danny and Shappy at first glance maybe didn't make very much sense, you know? When you would look at, you would see, here's Danny, who's this fucking lyrical giant, leader of men, warrior, poet, very, very serious about very many things in his life. And then here's Shappy, who is really, he's the king of the nerds. He is the walking embodiment of Saturday morning cartoons, right? And you look at the two of them together, and you're like, I don't know if it makes sense. It made a whole lot of sense. It was one of the great things about Poetry Slam is we met these people who are unlikely brothers and sisters for us. And Danny and Shappy were amazing together. They loved each other dearly. They both respected. Both of them were powerhouses, amazing writers, amazing performers. And Danny, as it turns out, was also pretty much a fucking nerd too. So it kind of all just worked itself out pretty well. So this story takes place at Slam Masters meeting. So Slam Masters meeting was the annual thing where we would go once a year, go to Chicago, go to the birthplace of Slam, right? All the Slam organizers from across the country would go. We talk about the National Poetry Slam. We talk about the business of Slam. We basically talk. There's a lot of talking and talking. So much fucking talking.
Before cell phones.
Time before cell phones. And also, it was like just wrapped into one weekend. It was like summer camp reunion. So it was crazy, intense, fun time. And as always, so this story happens. It's like 3 a.m. when we had to be up at 7 a.m. for either, I don't know, a meeting or a plane flight to a meeting or something. And it was me and Phil and Danny and Shappy. I'm telling the story, Phil. You're going to have a time back. Microphone's right here, buddy. So we show up at a diner, 3 a.m. It's a little bitty tiny thing. It looks like a train car, maybe. It's packed. And we see a table, we walk in, and Shappy, we've had some drinks, right? Shappy is fucking on fire. He's performing for the entire restaurant. He's having like 5 different conversations at the same time. The guy behind the counter, with the people behind us, the waitress, it's, just going off. And he's singing songs, and he's standing on shit and dancing, and like literally, like one point he laughs so hard he falls off the bench onto the floor, and he just starts breakdancing. So, Shappy, right? So, as we're all waiting for food, and Shappy is, having this monologue directed in every direction, Danny is doing a thing which many of you will recognize. Danny had, one of his many abilities was he could fall asleep sitting up in virtually any situation whenever he needed to, right? So, we're waiting on the food, and Danny, he would do this thing. He would kind of cross his arms, and he'd kind of make this like central connection, hips to chest to neck to like hold up his giant head, and he would kind of cross his arms, and he would just sort of do this for a long time. And he would kind of lean back a little bit, and he would think it was as if he was listening to you very intently. And you were like, wow, this guy, but pretty soon, a little snore would happen, and sure enough, he'd just be sitting there with his eyes closed, grabbing a little nap. So this is happening, and so that's the scene, right? So it's Danny and Shappy sitting across from each other, me and Phil, and it's Shappy at this point is like, he's like one of those wind-driven guys that stand next to the fucking used car lot, and he's just kind of going nuts and going off, and he looks across and he notices that Danny has fallen asleep, and without warning, just out of nowhere, he reaches out and fucking slaps him right in the forehead. Full on. I mean, this is like full open hand right into Danny's considerable landing zone, his giant forehead, right? And it just smacks it. And, you know, and everything stops, right? Time kind of stops. And I feel this is like, for the luckiest moment in my life, for a couple of reasons. What? That sound, the sound. My God, the sound. It echoed off all the walls. It was like, I will take this sound with me for the rest of my life. I want to sample it and to make it like a snare drum in a dance remix of a song. It's like, it's fucking wax. And so, everything stops, right? Everyone around us stops. And then I get to watch what unfolds. And it couldn't have taken more than a few seconds. But in that time, my friend, I felt like I got to see him in a different way. In a way that he couldn't have decided, he didn't get to decide this was going to happen, right? This was just a fucking natural reaction. Okay, so the first thing, as you can imagine, so Danny's fucking eyes pop open wide, you know, and for just a second, the coolest guy I've ever known in my life has lost all of his cool. He's lost all of it. He's going, Jesus. And then his eyes are fucking big. And then his eyes, it's all about the size. His eyes, as you can imagine, fucking turn to lasers and go right across the table. And for a moment, this fucking just burning straight ahead. And I swear, if it had been any human besides Shabby sitting there, this story would have taken, I'm sure, a very different turn. But he sees that it's Shabby, and then I watch his eyes, and his eyes turn from this fucking white hot, gonna kick your ass, into this moment of recognition. And he sees his friend. He sees this guy that he loves, that he would do anything in the world for. And he warms up. He warms up in just a second, all this humanity, all this love, this giant heart. And he looks at him for just a second. And Chappie at this point is like kind of leaning on the table like kind of a fucking drunk nerd puppy, you know, and he's like looking up at him. And Danny looks down at him. And again, and everything stopped. Nothing's happening around us. So we all look at each other. And Danny leans back and crosses his arms again and says, "Fuck you, motherfucker." And we all sit there for a second. Everyone around looks at us like, is this about to turn into something horrible? And this is, you know, in the movie script, they would say, there's a beat. It's quiet. And then we all burst into laughter. The most incredible, best laughter of my entire life. And Danny's laughter, I've always felt like, rolls up, you know, from the ground, up through his body, up through this big, giant heart, and out and shares with the rest of us in the world. And we're laughing, and we're laughing, and we're laughing. And everyone else around us turns, the world starts to turn again, and we're all laughing. And it's a moment that I'll take with me forever, you know. Yeah, I would give anything. I'd give anything if I could be back there one more time, just for a minute, in that booth again with those guys. And we were lucky, you know. We were so lucky. Thanks. Please welcome our next poet coming to the microphone. Give it up for Tamara Nicole Smith.
I can tell how long it's been because I drank something cold within 3 hours of getting on the stage. Sorry, Danny. And I had dairy. Sorry, Danny. Anyway, I've got a little story written out, and then I'll do a poem. This way it's timed, and I'll be within the time limit. So, anyway. Crazy coyote. Those were the first words I ever heard out of Danny Solis's mouth. I heard him before I saw him. I was part of a bookstore poetry reading audience back in, I'm pretty sure it was 1997. And I can't, hang on, the opposite of Genevieve. I had very skeptically shown up to listen to a poetry reading featuring the Albuquerque Poetry Slam team. I almost didn't attend. You see, I had moved to New Mexico from Houston, and I wanted to connect with some poets, but the slam scene in Houston at that time was, it's really transformed since then, was really negative, like psychologically harsh, really misogynistic. And so I almost didn't go. But I'm so glad that I did, because that night changed my life. So we're sitting there and we're facing forward, watching like a podium or something, like a makeshift, stage in a bookstore. And then out of the blue, a loud howl of a voice, but not from the front, but from behind. And it's Danny, although I didn't know it at the time. Crazy! Crazy coyote! Surprised, we all turned and watched and listened as he spoke his poem and progressed towards the front. I know you, brother. Now this was something different. I listened as he spoke his poem and progressed through the front. By the time Tracy Paris and Matthew John Connolly and Jim Stewart, etc., had performed, I knew Albuquerque Slam was nothing like the Houston scene at the time. It was an absolute marvel. But not only was Danny a skilled orator and wordsmith, he was inclusive. There was none of this elitist, no, I've been on a national slam stage this many times, you can't touch this, or anything like that. Nope, Danny was all, I know you, brother, I know you, sister, come on in, the water is fine. He lived and breathed Mark Smith's poem, Pull the Next One Up, the opening of which goes like this. When you get to the top of the mountain, pull the next one up. Then there'll be two of you, roped together at the waist. I never intended to slam. I loved what I had seen that day, and I would have been happy to be one of Saturn's moons orbiting the slam team, casting some light at night. All I aimed for was the open mic. Me and my piece of paper, my barely making eye contact with the audience, my being almost an apology. I was half convinced I was invisible when I got on stage. But Danny and others, they were not having it. Somewhere in my muttered mumblings, Danny really saw me. And he heard the images and the language play, and he and the community that he was so much a part of pulled me in, and yeah, I started slamming. That year I made the slam off somehow. And Danny, in a typical Danny move, gathered up all the poets who had qualified for the slam offs and had us come together in a group rehearsal. Remember, we were competing against each other. We read our poems, offered each other critique. Who does that? That's the true spirit of slam. It was about the audience, not us. The better we were, the stiffer the competition, the better the show was for the audience, and the true winner was poetry.
Hell yeah.
Danny made me an offer I could not refuse. He offered me a one-on-one coaching session, and he told me to get my entire slam repertoire off book in 2 weeks' time. I was doing poetry at traffic light. I had the poems in the car, and I'd be driving as a red light, and anyway, it was kind of crazy. And we met in his apartment. I think it was the one off of Harvard Street. It was 6 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. And I started my quiet, polite self. My parents rose from nowhere farmlands. Louder, he said. I said the line again, but not much louder. He backed up to the end of the room and said louder. And I was like, I don't want to bother your neighbors. Danny says, it's 6 p.m. And I'm like, it's not polite still. Louder, he says. For me, louder was a taboo. I had grown up an only child in a house where I was very polite. I had this white dress that I wore at Easter, and I would do an Easter egg hunt and not get a single grass stain on it. On Sunday mornings when I woke early, I minded the floorboards so I would not creak them and disturb my parents' sleep. Louder was like asking me to smoke weed or wear a scandalous dress. Yes, I know neither of those are very, but I'm just giving you a sense of what really wild for me would have been back then.
Oh, that ankle showing.
But I pushed out of it, and out of my mouth came a voice I had never met before. And it was loud, and it hit the back of the room, and it had a southern accent. And after all, I was born in Houston. And that's the poem I'll perform for you at the end of this. That was many years ago. That year, I placed second alternate, and through a strange series of events, I wound up on the team. The next year, I was the first woman to win the Albuquerque City Slam Championship. This was transformation. This was state change. I paid it forward. I pulled the next one up. I enjoyed my time on 2 of Albuquerque's slam teams, but oh gosh, that part that I hated, the dreaded strategy sessions, the endless analysis that seemed so much like baseball stats, and wouldn't you know it, after I moved back to Houston and started slamming there, the slam master at the time, Doug Shield, pulled me aside and said, I love your poetry, but would you consider not participating in the slam off and coach instead? Pretty sure he got down on one knee. And I said yes. And so what did I do? I called Danny. And then I did all the Danny things. I passed it all on. The enunciation exercises, face plasticity exercises where you're not doing it right if your face doesn't look weird. And running Italian on your poem and saying everything really, really fast, like 10 times in the mirror, that type of thing. And then, those distraction exercises, where you pull the cord out on the mic when somebody is performing. You pretend, you're the MC, and you bring them up to the stage and you say their name wrong. You say the city that they're from, put them in the wrong city. You turn out the lights, which I did, and actually the Houston team, when we were in New Orleans, the lights did go out during one of their bouts, and they didn't miss a beat. So all of that stuff, Danny was all over the first Houston Poetry Slam team that I coached. In my most recent exchange with Danny, I shared a very different sort of poem, and an occasional poem, commissioned for an event at the University of St. Thomas, where I'm getting my MFA now. They got this really fancy Bible, like one of those where you have to wear white gloves, and it's like leather. It's this perfect replica of the Vulgate, of the Peplin edition. And so I had written an occasional poem that'll be put on a plaque when it's installed in the library. And it was very dense and very layered and really not appropriate to be done in a bar or over a cappuccino machine. But Danny had seen this post on Facebook, and he asked to see the poem. So I sent it to him. And his last email to me: "What a lovely poem. It does so many wonderful things. I want to let it sit and read it again tomorrow. I can send you some stuff, a poem or two, tomorrow. Thanks for sharing your excellent work with me. Love, D." I had planned to see if Danny would be an outside advisor mentor during my thesis semester this upcoming fall, so that I could keep that spoken word element and reconcile it with all the formal stuff. It mattered to me that he would like what that I was doing still. That was in November. November slipped into December. Papers were due. I lost a friend to cancer. January came, new semester, new papers. Mom fell, work happened. I wrote some poems. Danny was there in mind, someone I was going to reach out to. I never got to see those new poems he was going to send me. The other night, I heard a quote from JP2, the poet, from a volume of his poetry entitled Place Within, and when I heard it, I thought of Danny. The quote is, "When I think of my country, I look for a road running upward like a high-voltage current cutting through slopes. This road is in each of us, steep and upward, not allowing us to stop." Danny had asked us on one of his last Facebook posts if we thought a poem could carry us. My answer was yes. When I heard this line, I saw Danny in my mind, a current of high-voltage poetry taking us upwards towards that whatever greater being you believe in. And now, here's the poem I promised, the one he worked on with me back in '99 when I found my voice. It may or may not still be memorized. We'll see. In '99, right? Flatlands. My parents rose from nowhere farmlands. Small town flats with golden fingers waving in the wind, singing them goodbye, singing them forward from dime store to shoe store, city to city, law firm, oil field, suburb to holy union and separation. Their feet have touched the earth. Their hearts have sung and moaned its flat song, graying. They have fallen from glass-walled high-rises, bank accounts emptied by the close of boardroom door and market crash. My mother, she dreamed of Greta Garbo and Sophia Loren. She read fashion magazines and sewed her own clothes and wore white gloves and saved her pennies for the latest shoe styles. She dated briefcases and pinstripes and tan sports jackets, placed cities between her and small-town Ohio, bedless youth and a drawer full of her only possessions, always afraid Ohio would want her back. She hides herself in high-walled castles with security alarms and clings to pieces of lace and silver, reminders of her nobility, if she only believed she is Ohio's child. And my father, long lost $100,000 dream of house, woman, and child, says to me, "Don't worry, I don't cost much." We go back to where we came from. My parents rose up just long enough to move me to higher ground, opened their hands and scattered me, dandelion flower to the wind. I am many miles from their silent world. My father, in his older age, hears the long, sweet sigh of Oklahoma wheat fields expand in his belly. His eyes are in need of rest after too long looking at hard, gray buildings. And my mother is still waiting for a ghost train that would in coal blackened puffs erase the stain of small house fathers' intolerance and poverty. Listen, beneath the rumble moan of streets neon, the earth is calling us back to the flatlands, where in vast, open spaces, hearts still.
Hey, Jeff, you're on deck, by the way. Just wanted to indulge just a brief story. I mean, a lot of people are talking about meeting Danny for the first time, and I feel like I should share that story. So I lucked onto the 95 National Poetry Slam team. It was my first year in Austin. Wammo was running the slam. All of a sudden, it was going from, I'm going to go to Lollapalooza and see a bunch of bands I like, to, I'm going to go into a rented Lincoln Town car with horns strapped to the hood and drive to Ann Arbor, Michigan, to compete in various coffee shops and museums and whatnot for 4 days of mayhem. And Danny was going to be there. Danny was on the Asheville team that won that year, and Wammo had been telling us Danny stories like basically all the way up. Just this larger than life, this kind of mythic figure, and saying ridiculous stuff like to women he was interested in, like, I can tell by the books on your bookshelf that you are a wise and sensuous woman, things like that. So we have this farmhouse kind of out on the outskirts of town that Wammo hooked up for us, a friend of his. They did kind of a house swap thing. So all of a sudden there's, this house that we're staying in, and all of a sudden all these poets in this like kind of world that I'd never really known before, like all of a sudden partying in our yard and all this. And I had claimed this bed in the front room, and things are it's an entirely new world for me, but it's like absolutely wonderful. I meet Danny, we absolutely hit it off immediately, and the evening's winding down, and I go to the bed that I had claimed for myself, and Danny is in it snoring. And I look at Mike and Wammo, and I'm like, what do I do? Because that's kind of where I was, and they just kind of shrugged. It's like, okay, so I found the little sliver of bed available left, and it's kind of curled in right next to him, and that was me meeting Danny, for the first night. So, it's so rewarding to hear everybody's remembrances, and I keep coming back to the Whitman line that I think kind of Hilary alluded to in the chapter video that was done based on our conversations. The I am large, I contain multitudes line. And Danny was just so larger than life, just so mythic. But at the same time, just like so approachable, so down to earth, so earthy. Like we had these in-jokes, we had these one minute we would be, kind of like waxing philosophical, and the next minute we would be, doing Jerky Boys routines, things like that. He was able to just kind of pivot in the moment and be really present and really aware. And it's just, one lesson that I want to take, in my life and have you all take with you as well is, just that presence, being aware, being observant, being in that moment. And, one things that I'm hearing, echoed from other people too, this idea of trying to make other people better, giving that guidance, however you teach, however you lead, however you have those opportunities to mentor, to really focus in and be present in that. So, all right, another friend of mine from way back when, in a time before cell phones. Please welcome my Jeff Knight.
Got the readers.
Yeah.
Good job!
Reader gang!
You're on your head! When Danny first came to Austin, and it was probably the mid-'90s, it was pre-slam for me, and I was doing poetry stuff all the time. I was going to Chicago House.
Yeah.
There was a little coffee shop on Congress called Cafe Soler. Yes, sir. And Austin International Poetry Festival was going on, and Danny kind of burst into this scene, came in like a wrecking ball, and just blew me away. And everybody, like, oh my God, have you heard Danny Solis? Have you heard Danny Solis? Have you heard this Danny Solis poem? And I just, was an instant fan. And as he got to know my stuff, and I had a lot of poems that were about blasphemy and sex and drugs, but not just that. But he says to me, it's the fatherhood stuff. That's what you're good at. And we were at Nationals in 2000 discussing which poems to do, and he's like, why would you do Jeff TV, which is a scandalous, fucking horrible poem, when you could do Dylan on Ice? And he always wanted me to do the fatherhood stuff. We've lost too many members of this community, and not even just right away, for a long time back. I'm going to read a poem that I wrote on a prompt from Mikey when Pasha died, from the Blue Plate Poets. And the prompt was, take a line from one of Pasha's poems, build a new poem around it. And we did a tribute reading like this one for Pasha. And the line I took from one of Pasha's poems was curious then, and I'm curious now. And I've been told that I have to explain the title. See, there's this phrase, curiosity killed the cat. And so my poem is called, And Yet There's No Shortage of Cats. Just when you think the moments are moving too fast to track, you remember that 500 years into it, the Basques still see Spain as an occupying power. That some pages of the sun turn slowly. Evenings now I stroke my wife's belly, which daily swells with life, and wonder when the new person will arrive, like the answer to a question our bodies asked. I lie awake, questions falling like bread, sending ripples across the reflected sky that rests on the lake of mind, disturbing the surface and attracting fish that feed on wonder, calling them from caves where they have circled all the long while it has been since I was a child, curious then and curious now, how one thing leads to 1,000, each of which, etc., each of which, etc. All of us having to learn. For example, the way the world will set itself between you and what you want. How it's lesson after lesson in the twin arts of ricochet and misdirection. How our mouths shape breath into sounds that skirt the real agenda. How we speak to empty air as if it held friendlier ghosts than the ghosts we know. How, looking over scribbled notes in a notebook of mine, I misread acoustic guitar as accusatory gesture. And I can't tell you if that's just bad penmanship or psychic distress, but I think about it off and on for weeks, curious, which in one archaic sense means made carefully. And I wonder why it doesn't mean that anymore, and wonder too, what else was on the schedule the day God knocked off for lunch in the omnipotence cafeteria, dropped a straw into the milk carton of time, and blew bubbles that formed, filled, swelled, and popped until primates came paddling from the primordial snot, set to shaping these name, rank, and serial number sticks and stones into spears, levers, gears, and suspension bridges, set to shaping centuries into wars fought for salt and lost for the lack of it. How now the mouse squeak of wheels pretends silence under the hum of the escalator at the mall, where people walk from window to window, dream A to dream B, everyone wondering if the zombie invasion came right now, what would you do? Where would you go? How long would it matter? Wednesday nights, the angels give 2-for-1 table dances on the head of this pen. No answers to these questions that most nights we're too tired to ask, and most times when we do, they float away, but some land, like an arrow piercing a paradox, a talon finding a mouse, a craft just home from a long time at sea, like a kiss on reality's cheek, a soft song to a weary ear, the last breath of goodbye, like the first breath of, hello kid, welcome to this story. Got any questions? The next thing I'm going to do does have blasphemy drugs. And I'm going to bring up my friend Quentin Thomas Oliver to play viola with me on this. Plenty.
Using my legs like a sucker. I'll steal your mic for a second. I should find that I have a thing I'm going to throw in.
All right.
We've been out of town for a while. But the very last time I stood on the stage was also for a memorial for a brilliant artist that left us suddenly and too soon. And it's the most cliche fucking thing I could say to anyone. But make your peace. Say your things.
So, the thing of mine that Danny liked was the poems that talked about fatherhood. The thing of Danny's that I liked was always on the side of the underdog. Any hierarchy, any structure that places someone up at the top who doesn't deserve it and someone down at the bottom who doesn't deserve it, Danny came at it with a hammer, and I always really like that. And whether that's gender, religion, economics, the haves and the have-nots. So this speaks to that a little bit. If you buy the story that everybody knows, Eve ate the apple, then God said you got to go out of this garden, and I mean right now. From here on in you're living by the sweat of your brow. Work is a curse, the Bible says it's true. It's one of those things everybody's got to do. Take it as a fact, you can take it on faith. The only job that doesn't suck is TFH. Trust fund hippie. It ain't digging ditches. Trust fund hippie. The pay is really good. Trust fund hippie. I used to wash dishes. If I could be a TFH, then I would. If I could be a TFH, then I would. King and a singer and a famous movie star strolled through the door at the neighborhood bar. Good evening, Mr. Presley. Man, I thought you were dead. What'll it be? And here's what Elvis said. I'll have a Bloody Mary, Tabasco on the side. He tipped $1,000 and some excellent advice. He said, I know my job looks easy, but it's really not the case. If you get the chance, son, be a TFH. Trust fund hippie. You won't be stuck in Vegas. Trust fund hippie. Pays good. Trust fund hippie. I've just been on hiatus. If I could be a TFH, then I would. If I could be a TFH, then I would. St. Peter. When I get to heaven's door, he'll say, you can't come in. And I'll ask him, what for? St. Peter's gonna say, well, you broke a lot of rules and commandments, and in general, you acted like a fool, and you drank a lot of drinks, and you smoked a lot of joints. And I'll have to say, yeah, you kinda got a point. But could I talk to Buddha? I'd like to make the case that I ought to come back as TFH, Trust Fund Hippie. Hey Buddha, how you doing? Trust Fund Hippie, dude, send me back down. Trust Fund Hippie, oh, this could work out great. I'll be a Trust Fund Hippie. The next time around, I'll be a Trust Fund Hippie. The next time around.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Jeff Knight Experience. All right. We got two poets left, both of whom I love more than life itself. And before we bring one up, a little bit of housekeeping. Two things. First thing, look, it's Phil West. Look, it's Panika. Good job, Phil. Total upgrade. Panika has a tip jar. Panika's going to walk amongst you with the tip jar. Guess what you should do? You should put money in the tip jar for a couple of reasons. One is we have a few expenses to cover this lovely event at this amazing place. Please give it up for Quacks, by the way. Clap your fucking hands. Incredible. Amazing. I love this place. I live 4 blocks from here. It's a coincidence, I swear to God. Hopefully we'll be back here many times. Tamara's raising her hand. So I don't... Oh, is that your question? Is that your question? Is that your question?
Give me Venmo or something, do things like that?
Sure. Yes. We should have probably thought about that, but yeah, you can. We do live in a cashless society. I do have a Venmo. You can Venmo me at Mike Henry HQ, and then I will make the contribution into a real thing. And he was never heard from again. Tegan, you and me, we're out the back door, we're gone. Okay. So there's that. That was the one thing. Second thing, the Exquisite Corpse. I mentioned we're getting our ass kicked on the Exquisite Corpse, ladies and gentlemen. We're fucking losing. It's horrible. It's terrible. So homework, poets, before you get out of here, we're going to end it a little early, I think. I need a line from each one of you, Tom. I guarantee I need one from you, Joe, and get one from you, everybody. We need a line before you leave on this Exquisite Corpse. Yes? HQ. Pretty sure that's me. Venmo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No dashes. No anything to those things. All right. Look at that. People have cash. Look, Joe has cash. That's amazing. Okay. All right. I think we're covering things. Things are happening. Things are good. Hey, how's the Zoom going?
So I put the Venmo in the Zoom.
In the internet?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Imagine. Fucking, he's not even here and he's heckling me. This is it's like egos all over again. How do you mean? Exactly. All right, so a couple more poets. Look, there's a bartender, there's beer. Please have a meaningful relationship with the bartender. Tip the bartender, buy beer. Lone Star, as I may have mentioned, is the beer which I like. Okay, so last two poets. I'm going to decide right now, out of just the thin air, who I'm going to introduce. So, our next poet up is, in so many ways, responsible for all of this. So, people talk about when they met Danny Solis. I met Danny Solis because I was hosting an open mic at Chicago House, and Danny was hitting on my girlfriend in one of his own poems. True story. And he was there because he was there to visit our next poet. Our next poet brought Poetry Slam to Austin. Our next poet brought so much into all of our lives. I don't know if we're going to get through this introduction. And if you think about Danny, you think about Danny as a heartbeat. Heartbeats have upbeats and downbeats. That's the other side of it right there. You can't think of one without the other. Please, big round of applause for my buddy Wammo.
Give me a sec.
Get your shit together.
Looking up the program. Fucking wreck. There's no way to get my shit together.
We got you.
All right. Let's just blow it out for a second. I don't know if I'm ever going to finish this piece. I've been working on it since I got my call. And I worked on it today. Fishing for rhino. Solid, like a side of beef dreads, a dark chocolate Cheeto waterfall peeking from underneath a carefully folded bandana. Bandani. The rhino is here to have a good time and show you his warm and gentle heart, his limitless generosity, his riotous sense of humor, his philosopher's wisdom, his unending quest for honor, his boundless camaraderie, friendship, and love. Unless, of course, you say something he disagrees with, and then the rhino is ready to charge, to lay waste, to skewer his friends and family with the horn of judgment. That rhino horn, his weapon of choice, and his Achilles heel. And I loved lighting him up. I would wind him up like a watch. Just set bait and cast some piece of bullshit I knew he couldn't resist. I think Chet Baker's better than Miles Davis. Bite. Oh, he would take the bait every time. What the fuck are you talking about? And then we were off, arguing like Archie and Edith, the rhino thrashing wildly. And most of the time I do it just to make Mike Henry laugh or piss Hilary off and then make her laugh. Now let's get a few things straight. Danny Solis. First of all, that son of a bitch was supposed to let me die first. I was the one who was supposed to kick so that he would come to all of my memorials and tell fantastical lies about my prowess as an artist and a lover of life. He was supposed to weave a poetic summary of my life and utilize his ability to take ordinary words and make them sound mystical. My eulogy was to be peppered with words like stars and fire and cats and red wine. And he was supposed to compare me to Coltrane and Van Gogh and make you all think that I was an extremely spiritual and luminously talented person. And by the way, Shappy was supposed to come on right after him and make me seem way funnier than I actually am. And as an aside, somewhere in the cosmic bar at the end of the universe, Danny, Shappy, and Pat Storm are holding court. Heaven help us, literally. And another thing, I was the one who was supposed to die in my sleep. I was supposed to hold court on my final night and tell stories and be charming and sing songs and drink wine and make love and make everyone laugh and make all the babies stop crying and make all the dogs tie maracas to their tails and wag them in perfect cha-cha-cha unison. And then I was supposed to say something prophetic that no one had ever thought of before and climb into my feather bed and drift quietly into the open arms of the heavens. Danny was supposed to die fighting racist dinosaur vampires and martyrize himself in a giant self-sacrificing explosion that saved the life of a puppy and his son and all his friends and every woman who still has mixed feelings about it. He was supposed to have the ultimate action hero's death. We talked about this at length. Of course, it was in between our arguments over whether comedians have the right to make jokes about any subject and who would win in a fight between Godzilla and 50-foot-tall Shelley Winters. Tegan, just picture Queen Elizabeth, 50 feet tall. Okay. Right? But our mission statement was clear. And then he goes and steals my spotlight and steals my slacker death and makes me eulogize him, and I can hear him laughing in the back of my head at this very moment, laughing and saying to me what he always said to me, his favorite term of endearment that he used on me constantly. Fuck you, white America, boy. In reality, Danny died a hero's death. Because as we all know, Danny was a hero. He was a hero and a teacher and a coach and a shaman. He was a loyal friend and a loving father, and I'm proud that we considered each other brothers. Look around. Look into the eyes of the people who loved him, and you will see the remnants of his love, his soulful teachings, and his sage advice. Of course, if you look deeper, you will also find that everyone close to him at one time or another wanted to twist that stubborn necklace head off those mountainous shoulders, because he was the most infuriating motherfucker that ever walked the globe, and somehow that made him more lovable. Because he was human. He was a man. And he was a proud Latino, Chicano, Mexican. Something he reminded me of about every 20 minutes. He had his faults just like all of us. I've never met anyone so bullheaded, so ready to take the opposite side of an issue, or able to twist the most innocent conversation into a political agenda. And if he was one drink past the Gemini line, he became El Borracho. His eyes wet and unfocused, his movements like a viper coiling slowly on a frigid morning, his mood a slithering burn, a snarling grimace with no recluse but the shelter of the eventual vertical snore. That legendary snore that we've heard about so much. That was even worse when he passed out sitting up. We talked on the phone almost every day. We had both moved to towns we didn't want to live in because we wanted to be near our children. He was a furiously dedicated father. Tegan, I cannot describe how proud he was of you and the young man that you have become. You're a great kid, and you have the potential to become a stellar human being. There's a lot of love for you in this room. Soak it up, man. Soak it up and give it right back. There are people in this room who automatically love you because they love your father. My phone is always on. call me 24/7, brother. So Danny and I would argue over which one of us invented the poetry death punch. I'm sure many of you have experienced its lightning quick justice. All you had to say was something stupid or make a bad joke. Hey, Wammo, hey, can I borrow your vacuum cleaner? Oh, I got rid of it, man. It was just gathering dust. Back in the 90s, when shit was real, Fiesta carried this Czechoslovakian wine that was priced 3 bottles for $5. Danny and I would spend our mornings at Tamale House, our dinners at Kim Fun when they still served cheap pho and noodle bowls, and with plenty of day drinking in between. Many a night we'd make it to Fiesta before midnight and spend a whopping $5 on 3 bottles of Czechoslovakian red wine. Now, we were behind my girlfriend Kimmy's house in the woods one night, with a small campfire built, just the two of us, passing one of those Czech bottles of red wine back and forth with the other 2 waiting inside. And he was lamenting over one of his many ex-girlfriends, ex-loves. And you guys know the pouting Danny, the sulking Danny, let's just say. And he went into his omnipresent bag that he always carried around and pulled out a paper bag and opened it and showed me, and it was stuffed full of fireworks. And he says, fuck it, man. Fuck it. I'm just gonna throw this shit on the fire. I don't care what happens, man. If it burns me, if the bottle rockets shoot in my face, I don't care. I'm just gonna fucking let it all burn. I was like, Danny, you can't do that. We're in the middle of the forest. We can't shoot off bottle rockets. We're going to not only burn down the forest, we're going to burn down Kimmy's house. Fuck you, man. I don't want to burn this shit. And I take the fucking bag away from him, and then he's mad. Fuck you, man. I was like, look, let's go swimming, man. So we go into the house. Kimmy's asleep. I take her car keys, and we grab the other 2 bottles of wine and drive to Gus Frew on Barton Creek. And we walk up to where the rapids are. We uncork both bottles of wine, take off all our clothes. He grabs one bottle, I grab the other, and we jump in the water. We're splashing around. He's starting to come through. The sun's coming up, and the rapids are flowing really good that day. And I pull my cork, take a swig, lose my balance, drop my cork, and it just floats away. And I was like, hey, Danny, I lost my cork, thinking he would cork his wine and we would split this bottle. He just looks at me with this shit-eating grin and just goes, and throws his bottle. And so, of course, now we were committed. We finished both bottles in the sun and then had to wait until we could drive to get back home.
Oh, yeah.
He used to torture me because I'm a musician and I'm Caucasian, and he would every day accuse me of cultural appropriation. And our conversations got to the point where I was like, well, man, I know a banjo is of African origin, but I still would like to use. No, man, you can't use a banjo. Okay, man. Well, can I at least still play music that has African influence? No way, man. Well, can I at least listen to music that has African influence? I'm sorry, man. There's no fucking way. And I said, please, Danny, please don't make me fuck the bagpipes. Today I woke up, I couldn't sleep at all last night. Even though I sat with friends and drank till 3 o'clock in the morning. Got a couple hours sleep, woke up, and there was only one thing to do, is I put on the Seven Samurai, Danny's favorite film. And as I watched, and of course cried, and watched Tashira Mufini be the brilliant, incredibly poetic fool that he plays, which didn't remind me of anybody, I began to see something. I began to see it in the movie, in the swaths of blood and the arrows that lay in the mud, and the bodies, and the courage, and the honor, and the fear. And I saw it today in the music, and the words, and the eyes of everyone here, and their hearts. Rhino Prince. Rhino Prince.
All right, so I'm gonna bring up one last poet here. And if you travel from, I don't know what, 5,000 miles away, you get to headline. Doesn't work. So, quick story though. This is someone who is a longtime friend. Was part of that epic '96 Austin Poetry Slam team. And one of the things I loved most about Danny was he would just like completely give people crap, like just mercilessly torment people. Like even just getting to know them. Like we're at this Poetry Slam in Boston, I think it was like 2011 or something like that. And we met this guy named Seth, this guy from like Springfield, Missouri, this like slam master there. And like, you know, we meet him and, you know, people know who Danny is and people know who I am. So we're, you know, introducing. And then Danny just looks at him and he's like, can I call you Sethy? And the guy's like, no, you can't call me Sethy. So of course you know what happened the rest of the week. So we're, so again, theme of the night, you know, time before cell phones. It's 1996. We're flying to Portland. Somehow Mike and I convinced the rental car people that we were members of Weezer. And that didn't get us anything, but just, yeah, you.
It was really their idea, honestly. They said we were in Weezer, and it was before cell phones, so they couldn't.
So they couldn't look it up on their phones, so we agreed.
Somewhere in Portland, there is a very confusing autograph signed on a newspaper with Weezer's picture in it that's being filled. I couldn't remember the fucking name, so we just signed our own names.
But we digress. So basically, the plane ride there. I'm reading something. I don't even remember what. Mike and Wammo are bilking Danny out of all of his money, playing poker on the plane, all of his per diem money that we had raised over the summer. And Hilary, of course, Hilary has the disapproving look that she had back in 1996. And she's reading a fantasy book. And I don't remember if it was Danny or I, but somehow one of us got the idea to say, hey, Hilary, did they kill the dragon yet? And she's like, no, they did not kill the dragon. And tries to go back to reading her book, but we just like ask her this like over and over and over again, and she just like has to give up on reading, you know, that book and maybe any other book. As you should. All right. So please welcome, again, one of my favorite people in the world from that slam time and just in damn general, because she's awesome and you're going to see it. A lot of you know that she's awesome already. Hilary, please come up.
George Martin is never going to finish that series. Or anything else.
I
don't remember the first time I met Danny. I remember hearing about him for a long time before I met him. I remember being awed by the Asheville team at the Nationals in '95 in Ann Arbor. And then there was a lot of very excited talk from this one about Danny coming to Austin. Oh, can't wait till you meet Danny. This is going to be the best summer of your life. And like truer words were never spoken. The summer of '96 was a summer that changed me forever. 5 nerds together. Mike, best coach ever in the universe. Wammo, Phil, Danny, and me representing Austin at the Nationals in Portland in '96. And getting to know Danny over that summer, he, I think, saw right away, I'm the only girl on the team. I think I was 19 years old.
You were a puppy.
I was a puppy. I was a little baby puppy, proto-Hilary. And
Pitbull puppy?
A pit bull puppy. I was a fucking, damn right I was a pit bull puppy. Really fucking sharp teeth, and I will eat your couch if I get bored. He saw that I was just sort of this bizarre, 19-year-old combination of confidence and like crippling self-doubt. And he gave me permission to give 0 shits about what anybody else thought. What anyone else might be thinking, not my fucking business. And he really released me and made me free in that way. He taught me how to play this incredibly intimidating, hard-working, very, very high standards, completely driven, mythic chaos Muppet. Taught me how to play, and really let me into my own heart, for which, I will always be so grateful to him for that, for letting me meet myself in that way. It was such a gift. And he changed me forever. That summer with you guys changed me forever. I'm so grateful that we had that together. He's got to come up because I can't see jack shit this close up anymore. We are getting old, you guys, and it's been fun. It's been real fucking fun.
It's disrespectful is what it is.
I know, it was a little disrespectful. Yeah, seasoned, I like that. Yeah. Sometimes another poet says it best. So this is Mary Oliver.
You got it. Take your time.
When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness. And therefore, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does towards silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made something of my life particular, something real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened
or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. And Danny was not a visitor, was he? He's here to stay. In the course of that summer, when we became family, we did a lot of group work. We did a lot of writing together. And one of the greatest opportunities to play that Danny invited me to was playing with language and playing with others as we joined our words together. And it was it's another way he helped me find myself. Each of you did. I found me with you guys that summer, and that group work, that the work of collaborating together, that's the best poetry I've ever written. And this is a duet that Danny and I co-wrote and performed that year. It's called Red Winter. In a month surrounded by the wrought iron fence of winter, the redhead breathes deeply into the space you've left behind. Lips like the crotch of a rose, suspended in a face white like powdered muted lighting, like cake icing, like death. We will sit in a house of cold hallways and warm rooms, and in the half-lit, gas-heated closeness, someone cut your moorings and you moved out with the water. We shall drink red wine, the taste of spice and dust and memory, pushing out into the distance that you wrote into all of your songs, the distance that finally appeared in every paragraph of your history. Nimbus of talk and intoxication, pushing back winter's chill fingers, and in this liquor and conversation conjured space within a space, shoes slip off, sweaters slide from shoulders, we reveal scars. Kneeling in the wet grass with the redhead, breathing beneath the broken moon, broken like the two halves of the ring in my pocket. Their translation nearing perfection only when spoken by the interpreter beneath that broken moon, the one you gave me the night we met. And I am aware of that distance that you sang about, the distance between earth and heaven, the distance between us now. And I shiver at the naked blade of clear remembrance and uncluttered conveyance. The wine is gone. A bottle of coffee liqueur remains. The circle of heat and talk shrinks to the bed's rectangle. Out in the front yard, her voice still reaches me, that redhead with her songs about God and loss and distance, while winter's wind shakes the windows like a great gray bear. A draft more supple than a cat icily slinks the hallway, slips under the door. Poison and movement breaks wave-like upon the bed island. It is the crash and the death of the survivors. And now, under blankets, limbs and words flutter and tangle. Scars are kissed. Sticky mouths seek and suck to each other, powerful and precise as swans landing on water. Then, no words. Your best friend took to kissing me after that. And I didn't complain because it was the bravest lie I've ever been told. And we took to drinking too much and flying kites off the dock at midnight. And now, when I am alone, I take to the darkness. Cats race in the hallway, where the redhead can find me with her cool hands, her words moving like blood in my veins. The bear shakes harder, Derelict clouds hurry by with their loads of snow. Her eyes are somewhere off in the distance, where she can watch you watching me, and the stars whiten fiercely with winter. But I can see nothing except the darkness in the space you've left behind.
Yeah, crazy! Crazy coyote! Coyote, I know you, brother.
Sister, you're the one side of the road, pants falling down around your ankles, yipping out jokes about madness and heartbreak and soul. Clever coyote, with his foot caught in a trap. That was us. Bad stretch of highway, three-legged running, always, but never quite catching up to what? What broken time? What jagged breath? What jumbled dream? What cracked and spinning Venus pulling us by our hot cheekbones? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sputtering flame. Dusk doing more than flirting. We know what? Only that to reach inside that tangle will bloody us again. Another shot. Another bottle. More free time won't be enough. More gets broken, more gets scattered, and we want more. We want, I want. The hungry fire inside pushes us out into the starry arms of dusk's alabaster sister, white glow, moon tattoo, reminding us of all those other times when all we had was the struggle. To hang on, dreams running dry, creek bed, bone puzzle, rattled to pieces, hands full of tiny cuts on top of scars, trembling with nicotine, caffeine, booze, blood pumping, or lack of stars. Poets love stars. And all those wide-eyed, fever-thicket, nocturne purple spools of clouds, no stars spill and sizzle on your lips, no moon to lacerate and remind you she clouds up, holds you at arm's length, and there is no easy medicine, no tough solution, no drink of water, phone call in the middle of the night to ease this one up. Her letters sewn under your skin like broken glass. Your letters, burning crown of thorns around your lonely head. You are nailed to this night. Of no dreams, no visions, no crack open the egg of miracles. You can't escape. It holds you tight. Crazy, crazy coyote, with her foot slipping deftly out of a trap. One more breath. One more moment, one more chance at what? Redemption? Salvation? That one more chance, that was us. Sisters, brothers.
No. Keep fucking clapping for Hilary Thomas Holloway. You should be clapping when you get home. You should be clapping tomorrow and the next day and the next day. All right. We've come in a way to the end of this thing, and I want to thank a few people, but it's also not over. So let's hear it for all the poets that came up here and share their work together. Thank you to Quackenbush. Quackenbush is taking good people here for helping us make this happen. Say hi to everyone on the internet. Hello, internet. That's fuck. Hey. That was really great. That was great how you begrudgingly didn't really care about the internet, but we love you. All of you people are great. Including you, Matthew John Conley. You know, fucking who the fuck you are. You and your goddamn rabbit. All right. So we're gonna finish up here, but a little bit of housekeeping. It's not totally over because after we leave here, we're all gonna go eat. We're gonna go eat at Masa y Mas. Is the place, the name of the place. Before you leave, write on the goddamn exquisite corpse. I swear to God, I'm gonna stand at the door and I'm just gonna check each one of you. Every one of you. I don't care if you write another one. Write another line before you leave. Do that. There you go. There you go. Look at that. Look how that's happening. And there's also tonight, later on, if you want to hang out, there's going to be a place to hang out. We have a place to hang out, which is at a dear friend's house. It is one of the best things because he's a friend that's already left the show. So we can invite all of our friends to his house. If there's anything that's more in the history of Danny Solis, I don't know what it is. So, come and hang out. Tegan, we love you. Thank you for being here. Please clap your hands for Tegan. And, yeah. And I say this is over, but it's not over, right? Danny's our brother. Danny's our family. We carry Danny for the rest of our lives with us. Everywhere we go, remember how he showed you how to live. Do the work. Walk the walk. Love each other, all right? And before we get out of here, one last surprise. We're gonna give Danny the last word, okay? So give me just 1 second. Thank you guys.
Love you, Mikey.
Mikey.
I don't want this light, or the way these bright, inviting surfaces bend the air and light and bounce it around off these pedantic, eager, righteous, learned, hip, perky, earnest voices. I don't want stories of ancient manuscripts or illumination. I don't want the knowing looks of professors, grad students, worldly or otherwise enlightened fuckers plucking at my soul. Images of great art surround me like a school of crazed and diseased fish relentlessly snapping at my brain, vision, spirit. I don't want clarity, or revelations, or visions, or any of the other much sought-after and, I guess, highly overrated merchandise the gurus and shamans and priests sell to keep their various ashrams and lodges and churches full of nice clean gold and their stomachs full of nice clean food. No! I want the other thing, the bigger, darker-eyed thing that swoops on wings that glow and strikes with fangs that burn and clings with claws that rip the truth from human guts. The damn thing had Van Gogh and wouldn't let go for a second. It sucked his too human soul out through his hands and brushes and vomited it on canvas that we now revere and charge millions and millions of dollars for. The tracks of the same dragon that had its flaring nostrils stuck inside the bell of coal train sacks and Chet Baker's horn till they were both sucked dry. The winged demon angel of a million nights, of a million shades of blue and black, of a million stars gleaming in the dark sky, maws of wolves and sharks and tigers. The lucky ones walk the safe daytime trail and say, "My goodness, look at those footprints." Other poor fools search the night for the fickle god-beast, hoping for a glimpse of those eyes before the claws sink in. The rest never have a chance, a choice, a say in the matter. They pay the price while we sit and drool and do and ah over the glowing words, pictures, music the dragon has painted with their hearts, minds, spirits. And here comes dusk again, and the dust of evening is lifted by night's blue breath and begins to take the shape of great dark wings, and a great hunger wakes in a small place and begins to grow, still unsatiated by all that has gone before. Ravenous hunger, purple, irresistible wings, black, unlimber as one, and dawn is an entire sad, wild universe away.
Yeah.
Where's the link?
It's in the Facebook thing.
It's in the Facebook thing?
Paula!
Hi.
Hey! What's up?
Oh my God. Oh, hey. Hi. I wish I could be there.
We're done.
So,
I wish I was there with you.
Page or
It's the event. It's in the event page.
Or on. Go to Tony's Facebook page and do something.
Okay.
The
And
link.
can I share it onto my Facebook page?
Well, I don't know, man. I think that would require. Are you? Can you
A
do
sense
that?
of technology that I don't possess. So
This is like a performance art piece that we put together. Called Wammo tries to access.
it's called Stump the Luddite. Oh, see it.
Text. Long head. Paste. There you go. Check text.
Zoom baby.
I mean, along.
Okay, so go to Pony's page.
I can't believe this. This is good.
Oh yeah, and I'm looking up Pony on Facebook.
Recording this
I'm
here.
not looking up the West.
Pony.
I'm looking up Pony.
Survey.
So, okay. So, I don't want to launch the Zoom meeting. I want to share it on my Facebook page.